One of the most exciting parts of the field of oncology is how rapidly things change. That's what drew me into this field to begin with, and that's also a challenging part of this field. Fortunately, here at the Montgomery Cancer Center, we have access to the most up-to-date imaging technologies, the most up-to-date testing, and of course the most up-to-date treatment options for our cancer patients.
We've always been blessed to have very good lab support here. We've always had the capacity to have what's called a complete blood counts ready by the time the patient was made from the lab to the exam room. You might imagine, being in the hematology and oncology world, the blood counts are very important to what we do, but then there's a whole lot of other labs called chemistries that have traditionally taken much longer. Now, these are tests that in most doctors' offices you go and you get the results 1, 2, 3, 4 days later. Here we have had always the latest in terms of the chemistry analyzers, and those chemistries, which include things like electrolytes, kidney function, liver function, and now specialized tests, for example, tumor markers, which are proteins in the blood that we can measure that detect the presence of cancer. And if we already know a patient has cancer, then those levels fluctuate up or down, reflecting whether our therapy is working or not. Traditionally, we've been able to get those results. We do them in-house, which is great, but it might be 1, 2, 3 hours later. And so those things come back after you see the patient, and then you have to respond at that time. The new equipment, these Roche chemistry analyzers that we now have the capacity to run 1,000 tests an hour. So the chemistries are going to come back in 10 minutes instead of 2 or 3 or 4 hours. So now by the time the patient leaves the lab and comes back to the exam room, we'll have all of that information. That is almost unheard of. You won't find that anywhere else in Central Alabama. I'm not sure you'll find that anywhere else in Alabama. But you can only imagine that if you have all the data from that day available to you, by the time you reach the lab and 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, you're in the exam room and the doctor's got all of it in front of them, then you can take better care of the patients in a more efficient manner.